I got used to stepping before the teacher regularly. What are the next stages on my path?
You can and must stabilize, solidify and deepen the relationship with your teacher so that the silvery thread of the connection forms itself. The next step is you formally apply to be accepted as the personal disciple of a teacher.
I already have a teacher, my spiritual father. I am securely tied to the next higher link in the chain of hierarchy. Why an application?
Of course, true, everyone has a father. However, between teacher and disciple in the esoteric sense, a more closer, more formal relationship exists. You enter a school where you receive instruction according to a precise plan at certain times. You take over obligations for service. You promise unrestricted obedience. Such a firm, eternal bond does not come about by itself. It requires a well-considered application on your part, and after careful examination, its acceptance by the teacher. Applying for acceptance as a disciple is a great step indeed. Read again the Mahatma letters. There it is shown how most applications must be rejected for lack of suitability of the candidate.
The individuals capable of training for such fields are rare indeed. Overcome by sex impulse, lacking in the broad humanitarian principles, enfeebled in constitution by hereditary taints, or, worst of all, tied hand and foot by the power of suggestion as to the necessity for money, it is evident that there can be but comparatively few in this age, as in past ages, who are even in position to enter the lists for individual training. "21 years ago, there were but 3 disciples out of 49 located at different points of the Western globe who were strongly enough fortified exteriorly and interiorly to bear the effects of the action of the opposing forces of the age.
The highest path imposes the highest demands, which are not easy to fulfill. The reward is great, so the costs can only be high.
The most difficult offers the best access.
Therefore, you have to examine yourself thoroughly. Are you ready for this position? Are you able to muster the strength and the will to meet the requirements?
Better examine yourself before the teacher examines you.
Better stay away now than become unfaithful later.
Better to not approach in the first place than to manifest apostasy. With regard to what shall I examine myself?
Your self-examination must relate to one thing above all else. are you able, in the midst of your everyday existence, to live up to the law of the disciple, which we shall discuss in a moment.
There are certain inviolable rules to be obeyed, certain unalterable conditions to be fulfilled, before it is even possible for you to take the first step on the secret path, the path of power. Create a mental mirror in which, by the aid of your higher self, you proceed to hold your personal self before the mirror. And with an earnest petition for enlightenment, question that mirror as to what are the probabilities of your being able to live up to those rules and fulfill the conditions. Ask that mirrored form what is the extent of its willpower, its power of endurance, its ability for sacrifice, such sacrifice as is demanded of the true neophyte. In 999 instances out of 1,000, the answer will be, I have neither power nor ability commensurate with the demand. Bear carefully in mind that not one of the rules given for your guidance is unnecessary. Not one of the directions is superfluous. Not one of the sacrifices demanded is useless.
Thus, it will be wise to first set up a probationary period for yourself, in which you try to live according to the basic rules which we have called the 10 pillars of the practice of Agni Yoga. Only when you have successfully passed this test, you should apply.
And then I will be accepted?
Not necessarily. Unfortunately, it is not that easy. There are many other points which the teacher has to consider. Above all, it depends upon your karma, on the breadth of your consciousness, and on the progress of your spiritual development, whether you can be admitted as a disciple of a great master.
In the question of the acceptance of a disciple, his karma plays the main role. A person burdened with karma cannot hope to become a close disciple. Only those whose earthly karma is almost completed can be accepted among the closest disciples. Do not be too hasty in choosing disciples. Apply 3 tests to the approaching ones, so that they may reveal themselves unsuspectingly. Let the first test be the affirmation of the general good. Let the second be the defense of the name of the teacher. Let the third be the demonstration of independence of action.
When you are ready, the teacher will accept you as his personal disciple. At first, of course, for trial only. The regular probationary period is 7 years.
Some people think that it is possible to change teachers without danger, but they forget the 3-year and the 7-year period through which the bond is woven. That is quite a long time, though.
Remember, your position as a disciple is not limited to your current short earthly life. It basically extends over an infinite period of time. over many existences, both on the material level and after the death of your body in the supermundane world, as a preliminary stage for such an eternal connection. 7 years of examination are not too long. It is up to the teacher alone to extend or to shorten the trial period. With the acceptance as a disciple on probation, your life changes completely. The spiritual reality, I am the disciple of a master, must henceforth characterize and mold your entire material existence. Let us listen to the eternal words of Mahatma Hilarion.
To the disciple of the Master Soul of the universe, from the moment your feet shall cross the sill of the high-barred gate which now divides the things of the spirit and the things of the flesh, from the moment when you bid adieu to the long-loved, long-followed friends and companions of the past, and gird yourself afresh for service, from that moment life has changed for you. From that moment, your viewpoint of life has changed. You are no longer owner of yourself. You have no longer a right to claim for yourself the easy things, the delights of that part of life's path you are leaving. You have only the right of renunciation and the joy of introspection.
The goal of your life is now, already during this earthly incarnation. You want the trial period be lifted and you to be definitely accepted as a personal disciple once and for all. Everything else has to subordinate itself to or serve this great project.
An example is Milarepa, who set out to attain Buddhahood in one lifetime and actually reached this much higher goal.
Little changes in your outward life. You continue to fulfill your worldly obligations, but you have created a new spiritual framework for your material existence. The stage set, the scenery, the subtle world, the spiritual background before which your earthly life takes place has changed. We now come to the decisive step that really makes you a disciple.
A disciple in the esoteric sense is a member of a community consisting of the teacher and his classmates.
Acceptance as a disciple thus means at the same time to be received into this community. From today on, you form a spiritual family. Your teacher is your spiritual father. His other disciples, your classmates, are your spiritual brothers and sisters.
My new family, what a strange idea.
Not at all. This is how it was at all times. If you wanted to become a disciple of Plato, you had to enter the academy. A novice of the Egyptian mysteries had to be admitted to the temple. A disciple of Saint Benedict or Saint Francis of Assisi to his monastery. A disciple of Buddha or Gendai to his ashram. And a follower of Jesus to the circle of his disciples.
And how is it today? There are no ashrams of the Brotherhood on earth at the moment.
Today, it is no different, though in most cases the admission takes place no longer physically, but in spirit. You become the monk of an inner monastery. You build the temple within your own heart.
Entering a community in spirit, that seems difficult to realize.
There is no other way. Remember, we are talking about the supra-temporal community you wish to belong to. Its members are not all incarnated on earth at the same time anyway, and certainly not in the same place as you. Therefore, you can connect with them in spirit only. That means
if you want to become a disciple, even if on probation only, you must enter the ashram of your teacher.
only with this admission your position as the disciple of a master and your setting off for the spiritual path turn from a non-binding abstract reverie from a Sunday sermon to a concrete reality. You now participate in all, even the smallest details of your teacher's life and in the healthy habits of your new family. Only then you are integrated into the hierarchy, which is, after all, a community. This completely changes your life. We have to see clearly. Most of the esoteric disciples make progress in theory only, but not in practice, because they shy away from the decisive venture, entering the ashram of the teacher. How this entry is going on and how your life there looks like, we shall discuss in more detail in our broadcasting, Living in the Ashram of the Teacher. In order to make your new identity an outward reality, you should choose a new name for yourself.
But I already have a name. Why is that not enough?
Your previous bourgeois name, Paul, Smith, or Barbara Miller, refers to your transient personality, which will cease to exist in a few years' time. Your true spiritual self, your eternal individuality, must be given a different name in order to make conspicuous to the outside world as well. You are now a different creature than before. At all times, the reception into a monastic order or another spiritual community was considered a second birth. Therefore, the novice received a new esoteric name as a sign of his new position and dignity. The Röhrig family and their closest co-workers in New York were also each given esoteric names of their own by the Mahatmas.
Sitting from left, Esther Lichtmann, enter. Zinaida Lichtmann, Ratna, Nicholas Röhrig, Fujama, Nettie Horch, Poruma, Francis Grant, Modra. Standing from left, Louis Horch, Lokwan, Sophie Shafran, Smotrya-Chaya, Svetoslav Röhrig, Liumu, Maurice Lichtmann, Nutzia or Avirach, Tatiana Grebenchikova, Naru, and Georgi Grebenchikov, Tarokhan. Not present, Helena Röhrig, Urusvati, and Yuri Röhrig, Udraya.